For those of you still coming in, the lighting in here is the only source of heat in the entire building, so coming up to front, it's the first time I've been warm all day. We're talking about embedded communications, about contextual communications, and you heard Jeff talk about this during the keynote, and we want to pick up where he left off and keep going around what does embedded communications mean. Before we dive into that, I want to throw up here the feedback code for this session. For all of the breakouts that we have during Signal, we're going to have a feedback code, and we really want this feedback. So the code for this session is T01, T01. If you send that code to this short code right now, then you're ready to put the feedback in whenever it's convenient for you. So let's talk about embedded communications. This is the difference between your phone being completely and utterly siloed from the thing that you're working on versus the communication being so naturally integrated into what you're working on that the boundary between communication and the function that you're working on completely dissolves away. So to highlight that difference, let me share with you a story that I had about my challenges with dealing with car insurance. So a couple of months ago, I was driving in Napa Valley, just up north of here, and I stop at a stoplight. I've got my wife in the car, my kid in the back of the car, and this kid comes smashing into the back of my car. And so you get out of the car, my kid's screaming, and so I check on my kid, I check on the person in the other car, and then unveils this process of interaction that when you look back on it, seems so antiquated and inefficient. It's not true. You look at the accident, and you take a photo of the accident. You take a photo of the other guy's car. You take a photo of the bigger picture of where you were, where he was coming from. Then you get the other person's insurance card. You get the other person's driver's license, and you take a photo of that. And then you pull up your car insurance app, and you write down your insurance number and the phone number to call, and you write that down on a piece of paper, and then unfurls this process that is so ridiculously inefficient, it's not true. You type in that phone number that you just wrote down, and then you have to tell the person exactly who you are, and then you have to describe verbally all of these things that you just took a photo of that would be so easy to describe if you could just share that photo. Well, we think that there is a better way, and so during this session, we want to talk you through how these kind of interactions can work in a better way. So the objective of this session is to give you an overview of what do we mean by embedded communications and what are the benefits of doing it. And then there are multiple different ways in which you can do that kind of integration. And we have what we think is kind of a reference way of how we would build it if we were building something ourselves. And Kedar is going to come up and talk to you at a technical level about that. And we're also going to break down the individual components and give you kind of a signpost of what other breakout sessions during the course of Signal would you want to go to, depending on which individual component that you care about. And then Tim Courier, VP of Engineering at Twilio, is going to come up and share his experience of building embedded communications. So let's get back to our car insurance example. Let's think of a better way of that to work. I could pull out my car insurance application and press Talk to Agent. And the app could automatically look at the location of my device and know that I am on the side of the road versus in my house, and choose to route that call differently because it knows I'm much more likely to need urgent handling if I'm on the side of the road versus calling from my house. It could look at the language that my phone is set to say, I know what language this person prefers to communicate in, so let's not ask him. Let's just give him that local experience for the way in which that person wants to interact. And then when I actually get through to an insurance agent, the insurance agent knows everything about myself, about my car, about what location I'm in already before they even answer the phone. And then when I need to describe what damage has happened to my car, I can just open up video and I can show them exactly what's going on. And if I need to emphasize a point, I can draw on top of the video feed to say, this is the area that had the biggest form of impact. This is the direction that the car was coming in. And you can interact right in real time over the video feed, and the agent can save snapshots of that information into the CRM so that they have all of that information. And then if you needed a courtesy car, you could bridge in a third person who can talk you through the courtesy car options. They could push the courtesy car options to your screen. Do you want the Ford Mustang or do you want the Honda Odyssey? Which one is the right car for you? Flick through them, take a look at some pictures, maybe even sign within the app and be able to have everything that you need to be able to complete that transaction efficiently. And the thing here is, this is about a high-value engagement. And really, this is a step along the way of a transition that's been happening for some time, that low-value interactions, process-driven procedural interactions that are really far more transactional. Things like checking your balance, updating a credit card, are increasingly handled through a self-service channel. So you no longer want to focus on how do you get someone off the phone as quickly as possible. If they're talking to you, they're a really high-value customer that you really want to be able to have a really high-value interaction with. And so what you see with embedded communications is this is kind of a virtuous circle, that you already have this person calling in that is fundamentally a high-value interaction that you want to have. If you can deliver them a context-rich experience where the moment they call in, you already know what they're calling about, and you know everything that you need to know about that interaction, then you can get a fundamentally better user engagement model. If you have a better user engagement model, you can be more efficient about the interaction that you have. And that's kind of key, because typically you are balancing out, do I choose efficiency of my interaction or do I choose customer experience? And you're normally trading one off against the other. Whereas with these kind of capabilities, you can have a fundamentally better customer experience, and in so doing, also get better customer efficiency. And that is really unique. And in doing that, that drives greater loyalty, which in turn drives even greater high-value interactions in the long run. And this is what gets us excited about embedded communications. It is just such a fundamentally better way to communicate when you can communicate within the context of your application. You can pass context back and forth in advance of a call and during a call. And so we wanted to break out a little bit. How would we build something like this? And there are many, many different ways in which you could build a service like this. Many different options as you set about building something like this. We wanted to highlight in this session a kind of a Twilio reference approach of what products, what tools, what approach would we use, and how would we think about it. And hopefully that helps not just during this session and this event to figure out what sessions to go to, but more generally as you think about embedded communications. So let's pick up with our building the ideal car insurance app. Normally, we would go through a process if we were going to build something like this. Maybe we'd follow a design thinking style model to ideate and to iterate through different prototypes and different ideas, and we'd do analysis on customer experience. For the purpose of this session, we're going to go based on my frustrations in my car accident, and we're going to build an app to resolve that. So let's break apart the features and the requirements that we would need. I want to talk to a service agent. So we need to know upfront my username, and we need to know my device capabilities to know what kind of experience to give. I want that call to be routed intelligently so that I don't have to wait if it's urgent for me. So we need to be able to track skills required to handle the call from the agent side. We want to know the GPS location. We want to know the language that I talk. I want the agent to be able to know before they answer exactly what's going on. So they need to see the name, the account history, the reason for the call. I want to be able to share my accident details. So that's the things like the drawing on top of the video capabilities, but also generally any kind of data input. That might be signing something, it might be selecting between something, it might be entering some text data. And then I want to be able to share courtesy car options and choose my courtesy car. So we're going to think about how we would build an application to do these kinds of capabilities. And really, these capabilities, you can broadly categorize into 3 different areas. There's context that we're going to use for routing the call, deciding who gets the call and where it goes to. There's context that we're going to use for presenting to the agent information about the call so that they know what kind of call they're handling. And there's context that we're going to drive through the interaction itself, the interaction as we're talking about who needs to show what, who needs to interact as we go back and forth. So if we were building this kind of capability, we would use 2 products for driving this context. For the routing context and for the presentation context, we would use Task Router. Now, Task Router is kind of a new product from us. It's been out for a few months. And you'll hear us talk about it as the beating heart of a call center, ripped out and made available as an API. So you can use it for call center interactions, but it's much more than just call center interactions. It is an ideal tool for tracking the number of tasks that need to be completed and the state and the context that goes with that task. And then for the actual interaction context, a real-time transfer back and forth, we would use a data channel that is part of the video SDKs. So let's just take a step back and think about how that fits into the broader product portfolio. So we have the video SDKs that Rob Brazier talked about earlier, and the data channel is part of that. They are controlled by the conversation API for being able to initiate calls and for having a server-side REST API to be able to manipulate those conversations in real time. They're joined by IP messaging that we just announced right at the end of the keynote, just before lunch. And all of these things can be orchestrated and controlled by Task Router. So as you think about planning out the rest of your time here at Signal, I just wanted to take a second to highlight what sessions you could go to if you were interested in each individual components of that. So for Task Router, 2:30 in this room, 3 sessions from now, multi-channel customer experience. For video and for data channel, the session right before that, 1:55 today. For conversations, the session is called WebRTC from a technology to a solution, so tomorrow at 2:55. And for IP messaging, you may have been wondering when you looked at the schedule, what is this very vaguely defined new product, real-time comms? That is your IP messaging session tomorrow at 10:20 a.m. So I just wanted to take a second to paint out that picture of the overall sessions. And now let's get back to talking through how Task Router and how Data Channel can help you build this kind of ideal car insurance application and how we would build it if we were building this out. And to do that, I want to welcome up Kedar. Kedar?
Thanks, Al. All right. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kedar Toraskar. I work on the sales engineering team at Twilio. And as Al just said, I'm going to walk you through this reference implementation. So it looks like Al was really frustrated with his car insurance company. So let's all build a better experience for Al. So I'm going to walk you through what an architectural paradigm looks like if you want to improve the customer experience in a mobile customer care kind of a scenario. So first off, let's take a look at the mobile side. So this is kind of a screenshot of a typical car insurance company application. Now, by itself, this app doesn't have any communication capabilities. There's nothing embedded inside it. So to begin with, we are going to introduce the Twilio Video SDK, and we're going to embed this SDK in this mobile application to give it native contextual communication capabilities. So for example, when Al gets into a situation that he got into, and he needs to talk to the contact the agent, so he can hit the contact agent button, and that should initiate a video call directly to the support agent. Now, to find the appropriate agent who can service Al's request, we need to come up with some context, and I'll mention something about the routing context. So let's see what kind of routing context we can pass in this reference implementation. So we may want to pass the UUID, which uniquely identifies Al, and it also helps in authentication. We can send the lat long, the geolocation. That can help us determine, say, Al is 100 miles away from his home address, so maybe he's in some kind of a situation. If Al needs support in English, he can set some user preferences in the language preference ID. And maybe based on his selections within the app, such as roadside assistance, we can come up with a certain skill set of a service agent who can support Al in his request. Using the UI device class, we can also send some parameters like battery life, the available codecs on Al's device, what kind of OS version he's running, and this can help us determine what kind of capabilities can be supported. So this forms the routing context, but for now, let's leave it at this. So this routing context can be packaged as JSON data, and we can send it to a REST API endpoint on Twilio. And that's going to help us make a routing decision. So this kind of covers the mobile side of things. Now let's move to what an agent should see. So a typical agent desktop looks like this. Now, when an agent has been reserved to service a task, this agent needs to know who's calling, why they're calling, and maybe even something about the account history. Say Al's been a gold star customer for them. So the service interaction is going to change. And based on this, we're going to present some context to the agent before the agent actually begins speaking to Al. Now, this context can be passed to the agent's web browser as JSON data. Now, we've covered a couple of aspects here. We've spoken about what needs to happen on the mobile side. We've seen what happens or what needs to happen on the agent side. But there still seems to be a disconnect. How are we going to transfer the context from Al's mobile phone to the agent's phone, to the agent's desktop, and then make that association so the interaction is rich and is meaningful? So we introduced a product called as Task Router, which is a set of APIs that allows you to manage application state. Now, I'm pretty sure we have a lot of developers in-house. And anyone who's built applications like these, one of the things you can relate to is as you scale up, managing application state between mobile developers, web developers, and backend developers is kind of a complicated task. And you may want to focus on the customer experience rather than managing state. So Task Router is an API, or is a set of APIs that, given the set of tasks, allows you to match those to a set of available workers. And you can define the workflow engine that lets the match happen. So that's a session I would definitely recommend anyone who's building backend services. Anyways, for now, let's assume that the match was made and we now made a connection to a service agent. Now, Al can use the video API capabilities, video capabilities that were integrated in his mobile phone app using the Twilio Video SDK, and he begins a video session with the support agent. Now, this is an excellent window into understanding the environment, and the support agent is now able to assess what situation Al is in. Now, this is a classic example of contextual data transfer. Both of them are on the same page. They can see what's happening. But when a conversation is going on, a lot of content is lost in translation. For example, the agent might ask, hey, Al, I want to know if your car is totaled. Now, I want to know if your radiator grill and axle is damaged. And Al is like, I don't even know what that means. So even though you have video capabilities, you really need collaboration tools that can enhance that experience. So using the data channel, we can introduce tools like screen drawing. So Al can point out, I see damage here, and the agent understands, OK, this car is really in a bad shape. And this can result in a better experience. And the agent can now take next steps, maybe decide, OK, Al needs a rental car, a courtesy car that can be sent to Al to help him out in the situation. So we introduced an API earlier called as the Conversations API. Now, the Conversations API allows you to add multiple endpoints in a conference, in a video conference or in a conversation. So we are going to, so in this situation, we are going to have a third-party agent who is a rental car agent. We are going to add him into the conversation. In a typical scenario, you usually keep the consumer on hold, and then the support agent goes out, punches out to another application, talks to the other agent, gives you a set of options. Now, that's a very long process, and it affects the customer experience. So using Conversations, we can just bring this person into the conversation. And this person can look up some cars for Al, and he can push those directly onto Al's mobile application for Al to make a selection. Now, all this is happening over the data channel. And Al can now make a selection. He can even digitally sign for all the claim papers. And within a couple of minutes, Al is ready and good to go. Now, this is a far better customer experience. Now, to make this happen, we've spoken a lot about composability today. And we've seen how we can use different APIs to put this experience together. So for our reference implementation, we are going to use the video SDK that adds communication capabilities within the application. We're going to use Task Router to create the right match between a service agent who can support a task like this, and we can pass the routing context and the presentation context from Al's mobile app to the service agent's desktop. We can use the Conversations API to create a multi-party type of scenario. And we can use the data channel to create tools like ScreenDraw, which are collaborative tools, and we can push data context like listing of cars. Now, this is a classic example of how you can mash up these things. So I definitely encourage you, all engineers, to go back and think about an experience that you'd like to improve, and you can take a look at one or many of these APIs and mash them up together to create an experience like this. At this stage, I'd like to invite Tim from Trulia, who is going to walk us through the experience that they've had with their real estate mobile agent app. And he's going to walk us through how they're going to build the next generation of this application. Tim.
Thank you. How's it going, everyone? Tim Correa, VP of Engineering from Trulia. Let's see here. Oh, out there. Back one more. Oh, went too far. Can we go back one on the slide? There. There we go. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Animation is too much, too complicated for me, guys. Sorry. So Trulia is one of the leading real estate sites in the US, and we actually have one of the top apps for agents. And we've sent millions of messages and calls through Twilio over the last few years. And one thing we've learned over time is agents don't actually answer their phones. 35% of our calls come in are being machine answered rather than human, even though agents are telling us these are the most valuable, most important leads that you can send us. And as we listen to the conversations, try to understand the problem and why they're not answering them, it became very clear that lack of context is really the reason why they didn't answer it. There's no understanding of who's calling, why they're calling. And the typical call comes in as, agent answers the phone, hello, this is Alan, the agent. They say, hey, I saw your house on the internet, the one on the web. Can you help me find it? And the agent's like, well, sure, where's it at? South side. South side of where? Like, agents, it's not the agent's property. They're not sure what they're calling about, and they're totally lost in the conversation, waste all this time and effort in a very inefficient conversation. So that sort of inspired us to kind of take things to the next level, build some cool products to help solve that. And so we're going to demo the next generation of a feature that we have called text to voice. When a lead or inquiry is submitted into an agent, they get a phone call that plays back the recording of the message that was sent, and they can press 1 to press back. Well, now that we have an agent app and Twilio's embedded SDK in our app, we can now do that all over the agent app straight from the device. All right, so Kedar is going to submit the lead to me Tim, the agent. I'll refresh. I'll wait for this to come in. I should be getting an app. Oh,
It just came in.
let me try that again.
Didn't come. It'll take a minute.
There we go. So now you can see in the app, we see all the context about Kathy, information, her behavior, things that she searched in the past, how ready to move she is. We can also swipe over, see the property that she's calling about. So this was an email that was sent to me, but I also...
Kathy Bateman has contacted you about a for-sale property located at 1160 Mission Street, number 1503, San Francisco, California.
So now I can play back the message right from my app, try to decide whether or not how important it is, if it's a good lead for me, should I call them back, and should I do it right away. Directly from the app, I can press SMS and send them a message back via Twilio. I can also place a call via Twilio outbound from the app over VoIP. Can we hit the next one?
Yeah.
But this is just sort of the beginning for us. So this we're currently testing in beta with our paying user base. But the next place we're going to, the next thing we're trying that we built a demo of is doing all inbound calls into the app and have the ability to give instant context to the agent about what property they're looking at, information about and insights into the consumer to really give them the context they need to service that customer and really shine as an agent. Great, thank you.
Right. So I think at this point we still have a few minutes left, 3 minutes. We'd love to take questions from the audience for all the three of us.
This is great stuff. The APIs look super friendly. I'm wondering, do you guys have any, Twilio already for the existing products, there's a lot of insights we can get. We can see logs and see how our customers are using the phone calls we give them, the phone numbers we give them to create support channels. For video, do you have any analytics around that in terms of what kind of experience the customer is having so we can help them troubleshoot when video is a mission critical part of the experience?
Yeah, so one of the things that we started doing with Twilio Client and have continued doing with the Twilio SDKs is we capture the real-time voice quality metrics every 15 seconds, and we capture that and put it into a database so that we can track things like MOS score, voice quality, jitter, latency, that kind of thing. At the moment, that is, you need to talk to support and email support to help you get those stats. Obviously, it's something that we want to be able to expose to you as well. The other thing outside of quality metrics, but the other thing that you get on the Conversations API is you can get a real-time view of every single active conversation that's going on right now, which is unique. So you can see every single conversation. You can get notifications when people join, when people leave, and get conversation reports of overall duration and timestamps of when people joined and left as well.
Hello, Bob. So I'm curious to know if it allows video archiving, like in the car insurance example, like I want to look back at the scene or something, video archiving.
It does not support video recording or archiving today. It's peer-to-peer entirely. Obviously, you saw in the IBM demo at the keynote, if you saw that you can get a handle on the media stream objects and do some things with that yourself as well, but it does not support recording from a Twilio product perspective.
Thank you.
Someone up here.
You mentioned you have a hard time getting agents, even though you're really giving them leads to answer the phone. How hard is it to get these people who are participating in your service, paying for it? How hard is it to get them to download the app and actually use it?
Great question. I'll be speaking about that at 3 p.m. over at the Hyatt in the business track. But I mean, the way we really did it is we offered a great suite of features to really enhance and make them more efficient that included SMS, push alerts, call recording, this text-to-voice feature, and that really helped us gain adoption to adopt a Twilio number and download the app. So really, it's kind of putting that carrot in front of them to give them great features to get them to adopt it.
I think we are out of time, I guess. So, right.
Okay.
Thanks
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
We'll be around if you have any questions. Thank you.